once again, and welcome back to Film Pro Productivity and Success, the podcast that helps creative people to live a more focused, effective, and happy life. My name is Carter Ferguson, and this is episode 173. Are you self-sabotaging your success? Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. George Addair, unquote. Well, howdy folks, and welcome back once again. In last week's show, I talked about how you could gamify your career with about 10 productivity strategies. And if you think that that is something that appeals to you, why don't you go back and check it out if you haven't listened to it already. And even if you have listened to it, why don't you go back and listen to it again? But before you do, you're already here. Let's crack on with this one. George Addair's quote there at the top of the show is a perfect reminder to us that we need to push through fear to achieve our breakthroughs. And that's the theme of today's show. Are you self-sabotaging your success? Now, I've covered this before, but it was a long time ago in episode 85, 10 types of self-sabotage. And I thought it was about time that I revisited the subject. So here we are. What if the only thing standing between you and your breakthrough is you? Well, today we're talking about why so many of us avoid the very actions that could change our lives and how to stop holding yourself back. Wayne Gretzky famously said that you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Have you ever felt like you're stuck on the verge of something big, but you just can't seem to take the next step? Well, you're not alone. Many of us find ourselves at a standstill, seemingly on the cusp of achievement, only to realise that something is holding us back. Sometimes, though, we just can't see what it is. Here's the big question. Could it be you that is unconsciously sabotaging your own chances for advance? I think that becoming aware of our own self-sabotaging behaviour is quite often the first step towards, for want of a better phrase, towards our personal growth. And if we can acknowledge what that self-sabotaging behaviour is, it might empower us to make the necessary changes to achieve our potential. This obliviousness often stems from the lack of, or a lack of, self-awareness and an inability in ourselves to identify the recurring patterns that are hindering our progress, that are keeping us back. And consequently, we might blame other factors for our setbacks, which further perpetuates our self-defeating, self-sabotaging actions. The reason behind self-sabotage can stem from a variety of factors, you see, such as fear of failure, or even fear of success, or the lack of self-belief that we might have in ourselves. And acknowledging any of these underlying issues, or all of them, and taking steps to overcome them is absolutely 100% essential if we are to break free from these self-imposed limitations. By overcoming our self-sabotaging behaviour, we will be able to open the doors to a whole host of personal and professional possibilities. But here's the question: why do we avoid our breakthroughs? Fear of success is certainly one of them. Some people unconsciously fear the responsibility or change that is going to come when we achieve our successes. And fear of success is characterized by fear or apprehension about the consequences of achieving our goals. And it can stem from concerns like, I'm kind of repeating myself here, fear of change, or imposter syndrome is another one. I've done a show about that. Fear of losing our current identity, or even fear of losing our free time and our control over the world that we have around about us, or just generally discomfort with the increased visibility that comes with success. But by acknowledging and addressing these underlying issues, we can overcome self-imposed limitations and welcome opportunities for growth and success. And an example of this might be a writer avoiding sending their script to publishers because they are frightened of the rejection or the success that could upend their life. And another thing, of course, that can lead to self-sabotaging behaviour is one I talk of often, and that is perfectionism and procrastination. The idea that I'll start when it's perfect, when the planets get into that ideal alignment, almost always leads to us avoiding action entirely. I could say that my putting together this 12-episode season of the show is being driven by a need for me to clear the decks to create the best possible opportunity for me to write some feature film scripts, which I need to be working on, have to be working on. And I have been putting them off. I've not been putting them off that much, to be fair, because I've really not had much time or mental energy to work on them. But instead of doing this show, perhaps I should have sat down and written a first draft of a script instead of 12 episodes of this, if you get what I'm saying. And those films, once in a first draft format, could lead me to more success and more opportunities. But I am forever seeking this perfect alignment of the planets in order that I can get onto them. That said, and I mentioned this in the last show, the action of me doing the podcast helps to sharpen my mind, and I am hoping to simply and easily and smoothly move on to the writing of the first script as soon as I finish this. Perfectionism and procrastination will always create significant obstacles in our pursuit of important goals and in our overall life satisfaction, and here's why. 1, time and energy drain. Engaging in perfectionism will inevitably lead to excess time and mental energy spent on minutiae and small details, often at the expense of far more significant tasks or aspects in our life. Procrastination can similarly waste time and energy. I don't know what's going on outside this. I don't know if you can hear this. It's quite a good mic, but there's a bunch of trucks just driven past. But back to my point, procrastination can similarly waste time and energy as we engage in unproductive activities in order to avoid a task. That's the thing when you find yourself cleaning, when you should be prioritizing your golden time, your best working time to work on that script, for example. And number 2 would be missed opportunities. While we're obsessing over trivial details or avoiding our responsibilities, we might miss out on valuable opportunities for personal and professional growth. I've certainly done this myself. I remember seeing something on social media that somebody was looking to put together a cast and crew for a film, and it was one of these legitimate postings that go out. I should have stopped what I was doing and sent my CV off and said, I'm available for fights if you need me. I didn't do it because I was involved in something else. It was in the greater scheme of things, it was probably less important, but I prioritized that over the potential opportunity. And that's just a fairly recent one that came off. I mean, it might have not have gone anywhere, but it was an opportunity missed. Number 3 is impaired or damaged relationships. Perfectionism can lead us to unrealistic expectations from others, while procrastination might result in broken commitments and disappointment at the same time, and both behaviours can absolutely strain our personal and professional relationships. And number 4 in this short list here is increased stress and anxiety. There's no real argument that the pressure of perfectionism and the guilt associated with procrastination can contribute to chronic stress and anxiety, and that can further hinder our ability to focus on far more meaningful aspects of life. Recognizing and addressing these sort of self-sabotaging behaviors in ourselves will help us to redirect our energy towards what truly matters. Growth and comfort do not coexist. Ginni Rometty, unquote. Finally, and I think this is one that does limit me, it's one I've been working hard to overcome too, is comfort zone syndrome. And you might be experiencing comfort zone syndrome if you find yourself staying in familiar, predictable situations and environments and having difficulty stepping out of those current circumstances to take on new challenges and opportunities. And this syndrome can manifest itself as risk aversion, resistance to change, stagnation, and a fear of the unknown. But recognizing that you're in this comfort zone is the first step towards breaking free. Because by gradually pushing yourself to step outside of that comfort zone, you will begin to develop resilience. You'll get better at adaptability, and it'll also help you to promote personal growth in general. And I've written this on bits of paper on my office walls: get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm certain I've got an episode out there called that as well. I'm always having to drive myself to do even small things like do a different routine at the gym, or just try a new machine out at the gym, or to attend networking events when I could far more easily go home and relax, or avoid training on new skills because or maybe apps or software because I am comfortable with the way I have always done things. Again, with this podcast, I want to run a few bumper ads for this season, and that's going to involve me doing things differently. The old ways of promoting the show simply don't work. It's that, what's that thing? The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I certainly feel that with the promotion of the show. I know I have to make a change, but the thought of it and the effort I have to put into promoting it in new ways does seem like a hell of a chore, I'll tell you that for nothing. The scariest moment is always just before you start. Stephen King, unquote. Stepping out of your comfort zone is 100% essential for personal growth. It's essential for the development of our resilience, our adaptability, and to finding new opportunities that will enrich our lives and broaden our horizons. I know you probably don't want to hear that, but I'm spitting facts here. So listen to what I'm saying. Take it on board and get out of that comfort zone. But how do you know, I suppose, how do you recognise if you're avoiding a breakthrough would be my next point I want to get on to. Well, there are some signs that you're holding yourself back that are fairly obvious. You focus on busy work. I talked about this last episode. Busy work, it's busyness as opposed to business instead of the work that matters. That's distracting yourself with cleaning or whatever that is really not a high priority. Another thing you might do is you might tell yourself you're not ready yet. I'm not ready for this. I need to be a little bit better. I need to reach this unattainable thing before I can move on to the next one. And another one might be that you feel stuck but don't take any action to move forward. You just sit on it. So if you want to beat these feelings, then you need to ask yourself reflective questions. You need to ask yourself, what's the one thing I know I should do but that I keep avoiding? It's another thing mentioned in a recent episode. The work you are avoiding is where the magic lies. I'll say that one more time. The work you are avoiding is where the magic lies. What are you avoiding? You might also ask yourself, am I avoiding discomfort at the cost of growth, at the cost of success? Answer those questions and you'll be halfway towards resolving them. So how else can you stop yourself from self-sabotaging once you've realised what you're doing? Well, firstly, you want to break whatever you're trying to do down into smaller steps. And again, this is a premise of an earlier show, How Do You Eat an Elephant? One bit at a time. So you want to start by taking small, manageable steps towards your goal. Simple as that. Next up, try reframing fear as excitement. A little bit more complicated, but fear and excitement are quite similar emotions. So use your fear as a sign that you're on the edge of something big. Then set yourself a deadline. And remember that deadlines force action. So commit to a specific date to complete the task that you've been avoiding and get excited about completing it. You might even want to set a date to start. I always say start now, take action now, but you might even go, right, I've got a whole lot of things on the go. I'm going to start, I'm going to do this tomorrow at 12 o'clock if you've got something on the go right now. But whatever you do, don't go forward with whatever you're doing without setting a deadline. And commit to a specific date to complete the task you've been avoiding and get excited about completing it. Remember Parkinson's law, which states that work expands and contracts to fill the time available for its completion. And in other words, that means that the more time you give yourself to complete a task, the longer that it will take. And this can lead to procrastination and stress as the build-up to the task becomes more daunting. It's a common observation in productivity and time management, and it's essential to be aware of this phenomenon to optimize your workflow and avoid unnecessary delays. And third, I'd say that you want to find accountability. So if you think it will help, share your goal with someone who will hold you accountable. Accountability encourages responsibility, commitment, and follow through, and it'll help you to overcome any self-sabotaging behaviors that you might have. External accountability can provide additional motivation and support to achieve your goals, so it is something worth considering. So, avoiding your breakthrough often comes down to fear, perfectionism, or staying in your comfort zone. But your breakthrough is closer than you think. All it takes is one brave step forward. Today's call to action is I want you to identify one thing you've been avoiding and commit to taking action on it this week. Lock it in and do something about it. Thanks again for checking in with me, folks. And please don't forget to subscribe to the show on whatever podcast app you like to use for more insights and strategies on personal development and productivity, of course. Each step you take is a step closer to becoming the best version of yourself. And if you are enjoying the show and you know someone that would benefit from it, I'd really appreciate it if you would share the link or post about it. Maybe do a screen grab of your app and put it on social media. Anything like that will get people listening to the show. Reviews are great. Apple Podcasts runs on reviews. You can leave star reviews and maybe more. I'm not sure now on Spotify. Any of that sort of stuff is really, really helpful. If you're getting something out of this show, please do a little bit of give a little back and help the show along. In next week's show, I'll be looking at 5 ancient Chinese battle strategies that we can harness to improve our odds in today's crazy world. But let me end this episode with some words from Sven Goran Eriksson, who reminds us that the greatest barrier to success is the fear of failure. Now take control of your own destiny. Keep on shooting, my friends. Keep on shooting. And join me next time for Film Pro Productivity and Success. The music you can hear right now is Adventures by Himitsu, and you can view the show notes for this episode, the full transcript as it were, only at the official website filmproproductivity.com, where you can also listen to any episode. And you can follow my personal account on Instagram at fight_director, join me there, or follow the show on Facebook. That's where I'm pushing people these days, at Film Pro Productivity on Facebook. And please do continue to support the show by subscribing, spreading the word, and leaving an awesome review.